Rhino's back. John Conn's back. Here we are again.
Yeah, sadly
Decided
not
to
out
come
in the
indoors
sun.
again today. It was too hot yesterday, John. Thought sit by the pool. Bit of a
be
breeze.
fine.
There was no breeze. It was 72 degrees in the shade.
Well, meanwhile, like over here, it's just like we've got all the breeze and no sun. So on today's episode, we've talked a little bit on one of the previous episodes about some of our favourite sessions where things went well. In the previous episode, the other thing that we were talking about as well is like the different stages to recording. What I wanted to kind of do today was focusing really in between where bands thinks the songs are ready and talking about how can they prepare for the studio and what things can we do to kind of make it as easy as possible so the bands look professional, are organised, and eventually effectively save time in the studio. Just to give an example, like imagine there's like two bands. We got band A and then band B are called The Struggle. So band A, this is going back to that episode where everything's kind of going well. They turn up, everything's rehearsed, instruments all sound really good, and like everything kind of comes together really, really well. And from an engineering perspective, or from like a productions perspective, because everything's well rehearsed, because like everyone's instruments sound really good, you end up like sometimes like the producer can look like a genius, and basically, effectively, all they're really doing is putting the mics up and getting out of the way, just to let them get on with it. Basically, you find that you're spending more time like looking at the extra bits and pieces that you can add to make it better. And that's something that like I think is what I'm hoping that people will be striving for when they're going in the studio. In contrast, the second band, this happens from time to time. These are the things really that bands kind of struggle. Like, this is where like sessions may not go as smoothly, and it's where things haven't really been thought through. People don't necessarily know the parts. From your own experience, Nick, what's been your experiences with sessions that may not have gone as smoothly?
So if we're talking, say, grassroots level, so if we're saying, fairly new band, trying to maybe do their first few recordings, obviously we get the same problems with them over and over again. So they've come in, they haven't really looked at their instruments. It's kind of an afterthought. It's it'll be fine, or we'll deal with that in the studio. And then we spend when we come to guitar overdubs, for instance, it's battling with the intonation, battling with the tuning. That's if they've brought a tuner with them. I mean, some people don't bring plectrums, they don't bring a tuner, they don't bring a cable, they don't think about any of those things really. It's always this assumption that a studio will have all of this. And, we're there, well, we want a banjo on this track. And it's like, right, where's your banjo? Well, we don't have a banjo. So these little things, they just leave into chance, really, and assuming that it's the studio are going to have them. And it's the same things over and over. I remember a story of a French band turning up at Rockfield. They flew in, got the car from Heathrow, wherever it was, down to the studio. They arrive at the studio, they walk through the doors, loving it. We're here, can't believe we're here. Right, where's all the instruments? Oh, what do you mean? It's like, well, where is everything? Where's all your backline, your drums, your guitars, your basses, your bass amps, guitar amps? It's like, well, we don't have any. And they're like, well, we've come to record an album. We didn't bring anything. We just assumed the studio would have it all.
Yeah, because like I suppose like Rockfield was in this position where like, they've been dealing with bands where everything came in off of it. So the Rockfield didn't really need anything, did they?
No, the bands would be bringing their own. Plus, well, we carry a lot of backline and instruments at our studio. We know the headaches of once you've got that, there's a responsibility to make it usable, that it works, that the guitars are set up. Because once you make it available, it has to be of a decent quality that the bands can actually use it. Otherwise, it makes you look really shit when they turn up and you can't use any of it, or this is guitars not set up at all, or whatever. So that removes that headache for them of not having it. Obviously, the main things, the grand piano, the Hammond organ, the Rhodes, things that are very difficult to transport. That's what Rockfield carries, but they don't carry the other things. And this band had nothing. So they ended up having to hire it all in at a massive cost. But even then, you just thought you would check. There's not really that many big residential studios that do carry loads of backline, really. You can maybe hire it in from them or something, but... So a lot of these bands, they leave things to chance. They come in, the guitars are in a mess. They haven't changed the strings for so long. And then, when you take one look at a drum kit and you can see the skins and you just know they're not going to be usable. And you're like...
There's a lot of trigger or sample replacing going along to make it usable then, isn't it?
Yeah, and they haven't brought any with them. Luckily, we carry some. But like we've had situations where a band has come and reskinned their whole drum kit and then buggered off. And it's like that's at a cost of a couple of £100 to us. When they've done that without our knowing. Maybe we weren't on the session or whatever, but they've reskinned their whole kit. We're using our things and then buggered off. Yeah, so just coming and assuming we're just going to press the magic button and make this drum kit that's not tuned, that's not ready to go. And also drummers who actually do bother to get new skins, and they turn up at the studio with new skins, but they're not on the drums yet. And we're thinking, right, well, now you've got a couple of hours of getting these heads on, breaking the heads in, tuning the kit. It's going to slip out of tune every 5 minutes now, and if it's just the snare, big bands, like when we were doing like the one we took it on from the Darkness, we would change the snare head every day. The snare head would be changed, and then we'd play it in for a half an hour or so, and then we'd be away and off we go. But other bands, you'd expect to use the same set of heads for the whole session, even if it's a long album session. But yeah, when they bring them, but they haven't put them on till they get there, then you're waiting for them to put the new heads on, you're waiting for them to settle down, get used to the room, all of that. So I guess thinking about all these things beforehand, and just, power supplies for your pedals or batteries for your pedals, all these things. Yes, we can get all that stuff, but it just saves so much time if it's just ready to go. Obviously, bigger bands, they tend to have techs, and they tend to have production cases. So they'll roll in their production case. Everything's labelled. It's all in drawers. It's there. They can reach for whatever they want at any point because they're used to touring. So it's a bit easier. So just talking about like us talking about equipment and instruments just from that point. But obviously, there's all the other aspects of it. So I don't know if you've got anything to add for the music from the instrument side.
I think we've been in situations where, like, you mentioned intonation, and that sometimes that comes up quite a bit. It's like, okay, the guitar's in tune, like, go through everything, like new strings, everything's there, but then like you go up to fret 5, fret 7 or something, and all of a sudden, because the intonation isn't quite in, it's out of tune again. So you then got this option of you either tune to like maybe the 5th fret, which I think we've done once or twice. We've actually tuned up the neck so that those notes would be in tune. You spend a bit of time working on the intonation. And I remember there was like when I was in uni, like we had like I think it was Phil Mulford. He was just like a session bassist. He played the players who went to like Abbey Road or Air, and he did all the backing tracks for the X Factor and Pop Idol before they went to the live instruments. And he's been on like Strictly Come Dancing and stuff as one of the musicians and everything. And he used to say like every time I change my strings, I always check the intonation. Just so then it's like it's in. It's like if you can't on top of things, and it just makes it a lot easier. I think one of the things when we talk about the intonation is like if you're investing, like recording isn't exactly like it can be an expensive outgo, and it's like you're investing in your future, I guess. So if you you got a session coming up, there's no harm in taking it, like going to the local music shop and asking for a setup. Like say like 20, 30 quid, however much it might cost, save you hours in the studio.
Yeah, and two things are going to happen. You're either going to spend hours trying to get guitars in tune and recording everything, tune into the note, tune into the chord, tune in, and it takes hours then, especially if there's multiple overdubs. Or you're going to have to sacrifice the sound of that guitar, which is maybe the guitar that song needs, and use a different guitar, which is maybe not as good or not necessarily the right sound you're after. Or you're going to end up recording loads of guitars, and then the more you add on and you come to add other things up, you realise that it's all out of tune and you have to redo it all, which is then cost you hours. So any scenario is going to cost you time and money, basically. Yeah, and it happens time and time again, doesn't it?
And it's like that one. And then the other thing that can sometimes happen is if the tuning, like the tuning heads, is like a Jaguar, and recently it was like it was a Fender guitar, it was like a Jaguar, and literally you could play a couple of chords on it and it'd be out of tune again. And it's partly down to the guitar and stuff, but we'd spent a day trying like fighting the tunings, like, do you know what, this isn't working. Kind of reached out to a couple of people. We ended up borrowing guitars.
Well, that's quite a specific sound, isn't it? You're after on using a guitar like that, so you can't really just get the Les Paul out the slide in the studio and expect to get the same thing out of it. Plus, how it's being played as well. If someone's used to playing a Jag and that's the kind of part it is, then that's the guitar you really need to do it on. So the technical aspects of it all, isn't it? The making sure the instruments are all right, making sure you've got all your bits, the right plectrums, the heavy ones, the thin ones. Bring your guitar cables as well. Bring spare batteries for your pedals. Make sure your pedals. This one's got a wah on it. Only problem is my wah's really noisy. It's got a problem with it, and it's like, right, well, if you'd have brought this up in pre-production, or if you'd brought this up beforehand, we could have made sure we had a wah pedal here. Luckily, we do have a lot of those things anyway, but just it's that leaving it to chance, and it always ends up costing us, even from a musical point of view, when someone says, oh, this one's got loads of harmonies on it, but nobody has worked out any harmonies at all. And it's fine because we can work out harmonies, we can layer parts, we can come up with all that. But that's time. That's maybe then 4-5 hours on a song that hasn't been scheduled in because the parts haven't been worked out. And there's 12 parts to work out for this song or something. So it applies to the music side of it and the technical side, the instrumentation side of it.
And that kind of comes into when we think about like parts and stuff. That goes back into the previous episode of the podcast when we're talking about the songwriting. It's working out like, does everyone know the song, like from start to finish, and could they play without the other instruments? Like you'll normally find, like say, like the Band A, which we said like the good band example, like from Pretty Vicious. He knew the song so well that we'd always start off with the guitars and stuff. He goes, "Nah, just give me the click. I'll do the whole song about the band," because he knew it and he knew the structure of the song that well. Like he's just like, "No, just let me play." And then you have other times where like you do a guide track, and then you realise they played something completely different each time. You're like, "Well, which one is it? Which one's the take that we're going to use?"
Yeah, especially when people want guitars double tracked and they say, well, I just play it different every time. And it's like, well, you're not going to be able to do that. We'd have to drop in I'd rather you play the track because we're after a performance here, because it's like, performance-based part or whatever. And they're playing it different every time. And then you just end up having to drop in every few bars or just do a few takes and comp it together. But it takes a lot longer because you need to make sure you've got all the bits covered. Yeah, defining what those parts are. I don't mind if the part's going to develop in the studio. That's absolutely fine. But then you've got to be mindful of, don't just have the attitude, I never play the same thing twice. Don't worry about it. It's like, well, we got to have this double tracked, so we have got to worry about it. But yeah, there's a counter argument to this kind of like thing where take someone like Scott and Kitten Pyramid, who would do none of that before he got to the studio. He would probably, it's wholly concentrated on the music side of it. So he would bring his instruments and stuff, and he's got good quality instruments, and we've never had any problems with them actually. But it would be, he probably wouldn't have had them set up or anything like that, because to him, that's not a problem. If it's slightly out of tune, He likes to create kind of quirky, kind of out there music and something that's interesting all the time. So someone like him is purposely maybe doing that so it doesn't follow a pattern. It's like, oh, I didn't bring a drum kit, but there's drums on this. Right, what we'll do is we'll use anything that's lying around. But obviously, if it's a kind of rock band or an indie band, you can't do that. Someone like Scott is making this kind of really kind of out there, kind of quirky music and visual and motive and everything, then he can. So he won't work on any parts. He'll have a basic demo or he'll have the structure or whatever, but it's all about changing in the studio. He's almost using me to write in the studio with him. He comes up with the basic ideas and then we work on it and we build a track throughout the day. And it's all, to him, it's all about, it's in the moment, it's whatever happens on that given day with me and him in a room, that's the song. If the guitar's slightly out of tune, it doesn't matter which guitar, we'll just use that guitar over there. It doesn't matter, slightly out of tune, it doesn't matter. So there's a different approach, but he's actually got a method. So he actually is prepared because that's his approach. Whereas a band who's expecting great sounding drums, guitars in tune, parts all nailed, layered harmonies, double tracks, it all has to be done before. If your approach is, no, we get in the studio with no preconceptions and then we build, then that's fine because that's still a plan. It's just your mindset is built to do that. So things are going to go sideways. Things are going to, and you're working on parts. You've really worked out any overdub parts, but that's fine because that's factored into the time and the budget for doing that. That's a different approach. So it can work that way. But as much as it's like someone like Kitten Pyramid may seem chaotic and kind of it actually is following a path of the way that we work. And he's found studios and producers and writers, i.e. us, that actually benefit the way he works. If he went with someone else in other studios, he couldn't necessarily do what he does.
I imagine it takes a bit of time to get onto the same wavelength as well. It's not going to...
You've got to be on the same wavelength, yeah. And when someone's saying to you, you need to have like a dustbin and a shopping basket and a set of keys and a drill as a drum kit, some people are just not going to get it. But it always works. In there is a method, but it's just, and when you're in that mindset that things are like that, it's fine. But when you're, trying to get a really good recording of a band and a tight recording and a big, especially for rock records, a big sounding, you need everyone to be on it, know their parts, the instruments to be right, all that prep done. And like we were saying in the previous podcast about maybe not having time or budget for pre-production, then the more of those things you can do, if we're in pre-production in a band in a room, we can tell them all this beforehand, right? Make sure that's got that on it. So make sure you bring that pedal, or make sure you do this, or make sure you do that. Save that preset on there so we don't have to, fiddle around for God knows how long trying to remember what sound we got in rehearsals. Amp settings and things like that. You can take photos of your amp settings. It's just all that stuff saves time because especially tracks where There's lots of overdubs, lots of parts. It takes, anything you can save little bits of time, and it all adds up, especially when you're trying to make an album in a week or something.
And then he's got a vision that like another band that we work with, Rattanas, that when they're coming in, like Aaron, the guitarist, he's got a very, very clear vision of what he wants to do when the session comes along. He's like, I want to sound like this. You normally we'll have questions and emails come in and say, like, how have we got a 12-string guitar? How have you got this amp? I'm thinking about these. And he's thought about like the arrangement of the acoustics. And you'll ask James, the other guitarist, on the acoustic, you're right, I want you to play with this, like the capo on the 5th fret or something, or just try out different arrangements.
He's worked out everything, which plectrum should be, you're going to be using a thinner plectrum on this one. He's memorized all the he's like, I'm going to triple track this, and he's memorized the 3 settings on the kind of chorus pedal for the 3 overdubs. You're going to use this guitar for this one, this is it, and then for the second one I just did this, and he's memorized all those, and it's brilliant. And it's great because, and I mean, if his ideas were all terrible, then we'd be going, not sure about this. And, and if he was like really determined to use his ideas and they weren't working, but actually what he's done is he's building sounds, and he's obviously put a lot of work and pre-production into layering these sounds in rehearsal rooms and in demo form. So he knows that this works. He's been through it. This is what works. We do one like this. We do one. We put the capo on the 5th fret. We do another one there. Blah blah blah. Yeah, and it's great fun to watch someone like that, isn't it?
And it just makes it like those sessions, and you can kind of sit back and relax in a way. But it's mainly because the work is like you can see that the band have worked in advance. They've done the work like rehearsals and stuff, and it just makes it a little bit easier. Whereas, like, as we mentioned, where like sometimes it may not be as organized, and like you go, right, I want to record guitars, and it's like, okay, and they go get the guitar, and it's like, what do I do now? It's like, well, plug it in, check it, and like you start tuning up. It's like, right, we're ready to record. It's like thinking, what's coming next? Should I get the stuff ready? And or like having like a section on the like in the studio, thinking, right, okay, this is Guitar World. We'll get everything in tune. Although I want to use this, or get my stuff ready for the next section.
Yeah, it's just they wait for us to say it's time. They wait for us to tell them it's time, and then they go, right, I'll start looking for everything, and I'll start plugging it in. Where do you want this? Where do you want that? And
guitars are always on the floor, though, which is fun. It's always like young bands. Where should we put the guitar? Well, if we lie it on the floor, it's not going to fall down.
And usually in the doorway. So many times, especially in the control room at Leaders Vale, it's like, where should we put these guitars? There's a guitar rack next to the doorway, but let's not put them in the guitar rack. Let's lay them on the floor in the doorway where everybody walks through. And you see it time and time again. I send you pictures of it. You send me pictures of it. Here we go again, John. Look, there it is. There's the guitars in the walkway of the door. That's definitely where they all need to be. I mean, we can go on about this because about other things related to it when you're going residential. So when you're at somewhere like Rockfield, even planning, right, who's gonna cook? Can anyone cook? Who's gonna buy the food? It's not like otherwise you get to 10 o'clock at night, no one's eaten, everyone's tired. All they've bought is a block of cheese and a packet of crisps to go around like 8 people. And they haven't kind of worked on that, and then it's too late, the shop's closed, they end up spending loads of money on takeaways and stuff. Just thinking about, right, I'm going to do breakfast, or we're going to have stop for dinner at this time, so-and-so's going to cook today, so-and-so, we've bought all the food in, or we'll go while you're putting the mics up. Otherwise, you want the band, and then they've all gone to the shop, and you're like, well, I need all the band. It's like, did they all need to go? All 5 of them traipse down the shops. They're 2 hours, and me and you were sat there for 2 hours because they've all buggered off. But yeah, I know that sounds trivial, but that saves over like a week to 10 days, just organising all that kind of stuff and deciding whether it's actually worth getting catering in because the amount of time it saves on cooking and cleaning and going to the shops and all that kind of thing. So. But yeah, there's another thing you can add that just saves the time really, and means that me and you get to actually eat something, John. There's a amount of times we're at 1 o'clock in the morning and we're just eating half
sandwich.
John, there's a amount of times we're at 1 o'clock in the morning and we're just eating half
sandwich and a packet of crisps get put on the table. So, I guess we're not stopping then.
yeah, we're not stopping for dinner. You guys don't get a break. You sit at that computer and just eat your dinner by there. Here we go. Yeah, I mean, I know it sounds trivial, but there's those little things I was organising. Some bands come and they're really organised. They've done a massive shop before they even get there. Yeah. They're like, so-and-so's gonna get up, do breakfast every day. So-and-so's cooking dinner. We're taking it in turns or whatever. Yeah. Or, and some bands are really prepared and they go, now's a good time to go and prepare the dinner because us two aren't doing anything. So you guys crack on. How long do you need? What time do you want dinner ready for? 8 o'clock. Yeah, 8 o'clock. We all go. We have dinner. We're all ready to go again. Back in the studio. Everyone's buzzing. When it gets to like midnight and you, like you say, you're getting served a a packet of crisps and a sandwich and going, yeah, we're not stopping for dinner, you've got to carry on. It just, over a long period of time, that kind of wears you down, really. And it's not the best use of time. I think being organised is just about organisation, preparation.
Yeah. It's one of the things that you can kind of ask as well before going in the studios, like whoever you're working with, whatever studio you're going to go to, is speak to the studio or speak to the producers that you're working with, say, right, what do we need to bring? Is there anything that like if there are any questions that you'd like to ask as well, just kind of think, well, what do we need to cover, what do we need to bring, what do you recommend us doing, are there shops nearby? Because obviously if you look at like residential studios, I think it's Giant Wafer Studios. There's a shop nearby, but it's run by volunteers.
Yeah, so it's only open for like 3 minutes on every Thursday.
Yeah, and then if you miss that, then you're not getting food. So then it's I think even thinking like that is like, okay, well, with a residential studio, are there things nearby? Having questions and asking about what you need to bring. What I normally say to people is like, just bring, in terms of instruments, just bring everything that you
would usually use. If you're used to a guitar sound, then bring everything that enables you to get that guitar sound quickly and easy.
Having everything, is, and if we don't use it, then that's not a problem, but the option's there.
And I think expectations is another thing to think about. Like bands come in and they go, oh, they're in for 3 days, we're going to do 6 songs. And you're like, really? You think you can do 6 songs? Well, yeah, we've rehearsed them and we've gone through and we can record. They're only 3 minutes,
That's 6
just
minutes.
we play them all a couple of times. And maybe they're too green to know like the overdub process and the editing process. They think they're great, but in the light, cold light of day when a drummer's playing there, the drums are all over the shop. We got to edit those drums. To edit 6 drum tracks takes a long time. To comp vocals, they think the singer's just going to go in and blast it out. Reality is they're probably going to be in there for a few hours doing a vocal. We're going to need to comp it. We're then going to need to fix a few bits. So expectations, what can you get done in that time? Are you better off in 3 days coming out with 1 song done really well produced? It's great. 2 songs, maximum 3, I would say, unless you're doing a punk rock album where you're just going to play it all through, everyone's rehearsing, it's 10 songs, set up, record it in 2 days, mix it in a day, can be done, has been done. Yeah, expectations about what you can really get done. Having 2 or 3 really good songs is better than having 6 that just sound like demos, and are rushed, not performed that great. We can only do so much. And then the mix process as well, our expectations about how long is that going to take to mix them to get them to a really good standard. If there's tons of overdubs, tons of layers of backing vocals and you want a big rock drum sound and there's 18 mics on the drums, it's really hard to mix those things. Sometimes you've built the mix up in the studio and it just sounds great and it works. Other times, you've still got loads to do, production stuff, kind of effects, and like making the drums bigger and kind of getting it all happening. So
it would definitely be something that, as a band who's starting out, or like a band who are thinking about going to the studio, speaking to the producers, even asking to visit and like pop in and see and having a chat. I think sometimes talking to the people you want to work with and figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work, or what's what would they recommend. Sometimes you might think that there's one person who's like the right fit, or like sometimes it might be like, no, we might want to work with someone else. You might not get that, like, kind of...
Like, some people won't entertain doing a song, record a mix in less than 3 days. Other people will tell you that they can record a mix a song in a day, and that's the way they work, and that's the way they've always done it. But yeah, speaking to who you're going to be working with and having a realistic expectation. And also, thinking you might need to go back in the studio. Maybe that's not just to put the pressure on yourself of everything has to be done while we're here now. That's it. Otherwise, it's never going to get done, and we've got no more budget. Having expectations that you might not get it done. The singer might have a cold, they might have a sore throat, they might not be able to get all their vocals done. Some, a song might get stuck on a certain part, and you might lose half a day, and then that's eating up into your time. So you might have to come back to finish some bits off or to redo some vocals, and it takes that pressure off. You're on the hat saying this is the be all and end all if it doesn't get done now. Occasionally that might be the case. You might all be flying in from other countries or whatever you're doing, and you can't get any more time off work. Then that's where we come in to time manage it, to keep it flowing, to make sure it gets done, and we take all the stress on board from that. But I think, our expectations of what can we get done, what might come up, we might have to revisit this, allowing us some time that, okay, we'll spend all the time getting it recorded, but you need to book us for an extra 2 days to do the editing, comping, tuning. Because the important thing is, while the band are there, is to get the band's bits down. That's the expensive bit, takes the most organisation, getting them all there at the same time in the room, time off work, whatever they have to do to get there for that period. Sometimes we're just making sure we've got everything we need from the band, but then we know we've got a ton of work to do afterwards, comping. We just leave all the takes, we comp them afterwards because we're going to be up against it. but allowing us the time, putting that in the budget to do it like that. And I usually do that when I do a package for someone. It'll say, we'll be doing 11 days recording 10 songs, 1 day setting up, song a day recording. Then I'm going to need 3 days to kind of edit, comp, tune, or then working on about 3 songs a day kind of thing. And then I'm going to mix it. If the budget's there, that's 10 days to mix 10 songs. If it's tight budget, we're doing 10 songs in 5 days. Then I'm also allowing an extra day for mix changes. What seems like a lot of time soon gets used up. Yeah. And having that day for mix changes, having those 3 days for the editing, it makes a massive difference to the mix. Especially when you've only got 5 days to mix 10 songs. When you've got 5 days to do an album, when you have to do all the editing, all the comping, all the tuning, and all mix changes, and mix 10 songs within 5 days, you're just not going to get the mix.
The session then becomes like the expectation becomes different, and like I suppose you got to then think about, okay, well, is there a trade-off in terms of the output, or is there a trade-off on the quality and stuff? And then that's something you have to consider for the process, I guess. Is there anything else that they might need to bring in? So what we've covered, just to go back over everything. So we just talked a little bit about, like, when sessions go well, like comparison when things might not go well. We talked a little bit, I think, about like obviously guitars, tuning, spending on setups. Talked a little bit, I suppose, about drums. I mean, drums themselves could be an episode in themselves. I think on the last episode we were talking about
drummers as well.
Drummers, yeah, and like obviously talking about it's the foundation of the kit. Drums often the foundations of the recording. So just thinking about that.
Let's do a drum workshop. Let's do a drum podcast, John.
Yeah.
Let's get someone on with us. We'll get a couple of drummers on as well.
Yeah, podcast with drums by drummers, not me. That was the most embarrassing thing I ever had to do, was sound check drums for Gil Norton. I can't play for shit. And it's like, just go around the kit, and Gru was like, ha! I think Danny was the engineering at the time. He had to come in and just smash around the kit so we could get something. Like, mate, I can't play for fucking shit. I can tell drummers what to do, and I've got an idea, but like actually sitting behind the kit, I'm rubbish. Yeah, drums. They say like
we'll do a drum one.
Yeah,
we'll do a whole episode on drums. I guess session musicians. So some bands want pianos on their songs, and there's no piano players in the band. And you think, we'll muddle through it. We could possibly drop in every bar, every chord and all that. And it's like, well, we'll get you a session player for £100 or whatever to come play on a song, and it's going to save you that in studio time and headaches. Or we send it away. We have people we use. We use Andrew Griffiths a lot for our orchestrations and things. People forget that when you're sending it to someone like that, not only are you getting great music back and great parts back, you're also saving time because you haven't got to do it recording, so you can be getting on with something else, and you're not eating up studio time. They're doing it in their own studio, so you can carry on. You've still got a full 10, 12, 14 hour day or whatever, and you're getting your parts back. So the money it's cost them, offset that against how much studio time you're saving, and it makes it really cost effective. But thinking about that beforehand, rather than, by the way, this has got loads of keyboards on it, but none of us play keyboards, before you get there.
Bass,
I mean, I can play, but there's a difference. If they're really intricate parts and you want to sound great, then you get someone in. But thinking about that and the string sections, or just organising the session players or other musicians, or if it's going to be sent off, when is it going to be sent off? Because if you're mixing straight after, then you want to record the song that's got the strings or the pianos on at the beginning, so that can get sent straight away once it's done to the guys who are doing it, and then you can get it back in time for mixing. There's no point recording that song last and then you've got to wait 2 weeks because you're mixing it. So again, it's that time management, planning ahead.
4 sessions. I remember we had there's a songwriting session we did in Rockfield, and I think we brought in the Bryden String Quartet, and we managed to send out the song to Emma, who's obviously like the cello player, and she put the arrangement together. So they came in, they had the sheet music ready to go, sat down, everything was mic'd up, and he pressed record. I was like, this sounds great. And it just obviously like just doing that and having that ready, and I'm thinking about that's got to be planned into your production timeline, and you've got to think about that when we're doing it. And
I mean, that happens if we do pre-production with a band, doesn't it? Because we talk about all of that stuff. But it's when the pre-production doesn't happen and it's a band we don't know and we haven't had much communication with them. Yeah, and it can't happen. And then they're like, we'd like strings on this. When do you think you can get people in? It's like, you can't just magic players out of nowhere. They've got to be arranged. And, have we got studio time to do it? Have you got budget to do it? So, all those things, just think about it beforehand. Or can we get away with program strings? Does it have to be real strings? People think they want real strings on there, but does it need to be?
No, I was going to say, like with the string players, or say with like session players like trumpet or stuff, having that time, obviously when they come in they've got the parts ready to go, that's great. But if not, and they're coming in blind, then it's just allow a bit of time. Say it might take a couple of hours for them to learn, pick up the song. And it's just making sure, again, like whoever you're bringing in, if you're organising it yourself,
bringing the right players in,
making sure you bring in the right players.
How many times do we get it? Oh, we're gonna have Flugelhorn on this, and my auntie Janet's coming in to do it. She's brilliant. No experience, never put a pair of headphones on in the studio in her life, and it's like as much as like because she's doing it for free. Poor auntie Janet's in there, like rabbit in the headlights.
Yeah, it can really
it's stressful. Getting the right player, the right person who's going to play, and also is used to being in the studio. I think my mate's coming in to do this, and he's free. It's like, yeah, here we go. Here we go again. But also, we can do a lot of those bits anyway, because obviously when you're working with maybe pop stuff and just singers, maybe that's fine. We can program everything. We play guitars, drums, bass. Get by on the keys, program strings, all of that. So, but yeah, don't take that for granted, because you're not always working with people as talented as me and John and Constantine. So they might not do that. They might literally. So you need to check whoever you're working with beforehand.
Yeah. So practicing is always going to be really important. Tools. Anything that bands or musicians should bring in to the studio that isn't the instrument themselves, but what is any tools that they could bring in that could help things along?
Sorry, you said practicing then, and then one thing about what you can practice on. Just sorry. I don't think is an answer, is it?
No. So tools in terms of you don't practice on anything, regardless of what Kingsley Ward says.
Well. At the end of the day, John, they're all doing it.
That's not a real T-shirt, is it?
No. It's a Ben Matthews special, this one. They're all doing it. It's one of Kingsley's
They're all doing it.
regular sayings. We're not quite sure what that refers to. I mean, it's probably refers to something like they're all doing it, they're all getting #1 records, or all studios are going bust, they're all doing it, or I don't know. It could be something as simple as John. Who knows? Yeah, anyway, where were we, John?
What I was asking is tools. Like, is there anything like bands could bring in that would help the session along, like just to save time? Not so much instruments, but things that would help the instruments.
So yeah, things that they could bring in. Yeah, so for drummers, not just the only set of battered sticks that you've got. So replacement sticks, maybe different weights as well, and also have a selection, have brushes, have hot rods. That song hasn't got brushes or hot rods on it now, but when you get in the studio, it might do.
Yeah.
And you might need it, or mallets and things like that for cymbal swells. Just make sure you've got a good stick bag. Make sure you've got a spare drum key as well as your drum key, because we all know somewhere is a place on this earth that contains drum keys, socks and pens.
And plectrums
somewhere.
Well, plectrums has got its own little space in Leader's Vale where it's just, I don't know how, but the mixing desk is full of plectrums that none of us have ever bought. They just appear there.
No, when we never put them in there either. They're just in there. So yeah, having a spare drum key. So a good stick bag, and in there's moon gels, gaffer tape. Studios will have gaffer tape, but just if you've got your own gaffer tape, then you're not wandering around trying to find the gaffer tape. It's in your stick bag, it's there. Your moon gels are there, really important, because they are going to get used. Your kit's going to get retuned and padded down, and even a pillow for inside your bass drum, or a blanket, whatever you're used to using, that might get taken out. The front skin might get taken off. So yeah, spare skins, spare sticks. You don't want to be in the studio and not, and your tom skin goes and you haven't got a spare one, and it's 8:00 at night, so you're not going to get one till the next day. So yeah, that's the drummer, those kind of things. And then bass players and guitarists, change of strings, different gauges would be nice, but understand not everyone can afford to have like multiple sets, but at least a couple of spare toppies and a couple of another spare pack. Same for the bass. Bring your own tuner, decent tuner. As long as one person's got a good quality tuner, we can use that same. We'll tend to use the same tuner for all the band. So when we do overdub, so everyone's using the same. Yeah, extra plectrums, different weights. Whether you're using, little things about thinking about if there's an acoustic guitar part, having some fast fret or something. If it's a part that involves lots of sliding, yes, we can sit there and get rid of those squeaks. But if it's really open, and some guitars are just really harsh on the squeaks, I mean, we got software we can use to use that, but we're often kind of dipping those out. But maybe fast fret or something like that helps it anyway, or whatever. But just be mindful of that. For singers, you can be whether it's what you're used to using. If you're used to drinking honey and lemon, whatever, then bring your honey and lemon. We've got all that stuff in the studio anyway, but bring it. If you're using vocal zones, and you bring your vocal zones. By the way, if you need a vocal zone endorsement, just speak to Whips from Burning Crows. I think he's got a shed full of them somewhere that he's trying to get rid of.
When we're talking about the vocalist, I think I've seen like some vocalists have like steamers that they use
Yeah.
just to kind of like for warming up, and then even just warming up well in advance. So that's coming into
Well
the
in
studio, but
advance,
like
yeah.
thinking when it comes to warming up, when we talked about like our favourite sessions, I always remember like Danny Thunder's ready to go for vocals like 10 in the morning. He'll go off and warm up,
Yeah.
and then like the big bands, if they're needed, they'll go and like, right, I need to go warm up for an hour. I remember like Matt Mitchell from Colour Noise, same thing.
Yeah.
He's like, he'd go and warm up straight away, like first thing in the morning, be ready to go like 10, 11 in the morning if that's what was needed. And it's just thinking about that. You can't just walk into like the studio and it's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Taking yourself off and actually doing that. So that's that idea of saving time, I
Yeah,
guess.
because we'll always give you a warning. We'll always say, we're going to be about an hour. You'll be singing in about an hour. That's not an excuse to go down the pub. That's an hour to go down the pub and drink 20 pints, come back and do my vocals, or sit there and get really nervous and kind of for an hour and worry about everything. That's your opportunity to get your shit together. What drinks do I need? It might be a bottle of Jack Daniels, but get the bottle of Jack Daniels ready. What you need,
Yeah.
If there's an assistant there, go to the assistant. Right, get the assistant in there, get it vibed up, get your candles, get your pillows, get your mic stand, your music stand. We get the assistant doing all that stuff anyway.
Yeah.
But anything you want in there with you, your spit bucket, whatever it is, start preparing it and do your warm-ups.
So I think that kind of covers most of the stuff in terms of like obviously preparing for the studio and what we need to do. So just looking at this now, like some of the notes made along, main takeaways from this, like just trying to maximize the time in the studio so that you're as prepared as possible. Obviously, like things can happen where it might not go as well. Saying first thing as well is like having a vision for your session, knowing like, well, is it going to be like a live recording? Are we going to layer things up? Is it going to be like Kit and Pyramid where we're like talking about there's a vision in terms of, right, I want to make drums, but I'm going to use different things or think outside the box and stuff. Yeah. Having like a plan and stuff for recording, rehearsing your parts, making sure everything fits together. So when you're practicing, looking at what everyone's playing and making sure the rhythms are the same. So even if that means like looking at the drums and the bass together, or like, turning everything down so everyone can hear each other. Knowing your structures, knowing like the outline of the song, your spares, making sure the instruments are in tune, making sure obviously like you've looked at the intonation. That can be a really important one for guitars. And also like, spending money on, as we said earlier, like spending money on your setups can save you a lot of time in the studio. And obviously like, I don't like the term time is money in the studio. I always try to avoid it. But when you think about planning, if it saves you time and it makes you more efficient or makes you better in the studio, then that setup's going to save you hours and hours and hours, even days at times, for recording.
Yeah. Well, it'd be good if there was some kind of checklist that we had, John, available that bands and musicians could download. I wonder if there's anything like that out there, John, currently.
Yeah, if you went to
that
Session
we can put here, or we can put here, or we can put over there. I don't know. There's a link somewhere to
what
it,
I'll
John.
do
Where
is if we're doing that, it'll be down below in the comments of this video. If it's on the show notes, it'll also be in the show notes of the podcast if you're listening to this and you're not on YouTube, because you can see our faces. Actually, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. You'll love the continuity errors. But yeah, sessionrecall.com/band checklist. I think I've got it down as. And that should be like a starting point. So there's a bit about obviously the business of the band. There is a page towards recording as well. When you're looking at the studios and talking to producers and answering the questions, rather than just rocking up and just assuming everything's going to be great. Everyone loves a story. Everyone loves that, like, we turned up and then we recorded and now we sold 1 million records in a week.
I mean, and things change in the studio. We're so used to, we've done so many thousands and thousands of sessions that things change and plans change and creative juices start flowing and things do adapt and change. And we have great fun in the studio doing that. That's why we all love it, because every session is different and you don't quite know where it's going to go, where it's going to go. So it's exciting as well. So yeah, but having a plan is great. That plan can go off in tangents, whatever. The more money you can save on that part of the process, the more money you can put into getting your music out there and actually doing something with your music, John, which we'll be talking about on another podcast about, right, we've been in the studio, we've done this, what the hell do we do with it now?
Yeah, I think, but that, for this episode, I think that's like a really good place to kind of leave it.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Nick.
Okay.
I'm sorry it's not as nice and sunny. I'm sorry you haven't got air conditioning outside, which I think is called wind.
As Kingsley would say, Session Recall, sign up to it, because they're all doing it.
We're all doing it. We're going to have to leave that there, didn't we?
See you later, John.
Ta-da.